at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. We've got a great guest on tonight. Everything from Bigfoot to ghost hunting. Now, Dave, one of the listeners has a question for you. Barb wants to know, well, how do you cope with attachments? Or had you ever had any attachments?
Yes, I have, to be perfectly honest. There was a particular investigation I was a part of where we went to a notorious house in Pennsylvania that was likened to the Amityville horror, but it was in Pennsylvania, as Ed and Lorraine Warren had been there many, many years ago in the early 80s. And I was asked to be a part of a team where we went in and lived in this house. It was bought and sold countless times over the years by people would move in and move out right away. One of the main things you look for in a haunting is if it has a history like this where people move in and move out right away. Some even left their belongings. Some of the people that lived in this house who had no other problems, but shortly after moving in, they became drug addicts, alcoholics, numerous type of situations going on there. So we lived in this place for a month straight, 24/7, investigating it. Then I went back 3 more times, and the guy I was with, he ended up buying this place, and we kept going back and spending, long amounts of time in there because I think that's important when you investigate, to spend as much time as you can in a location. And after that investigation was over, I had like the worst year of my life that really came out of nowhere. I discovered I had gotten cancer in my leg, out of nowhere. Had a softball-sized tumor in my leg. I went through a really horrible divorce and almost went financially ruined. And it just came out of nowhere. There was no signs of any of this and everything. And I was having dreams every night at home of these like black arms coming out of this blackness around me trying to grab me, and every night they would get a little closer and a little closer till finally one night one of them grabbed a hold of my arm or my sleeve, and it got a hold of me, and then I woke up, and I would wake up in these horrendous cold sweats, and I'd be just covered in sweat, and the night it got a hold of me, when I woke up, there was actually a tear in my shirt, and I had a little scratch on my arm. Now, could I have done that in my sleep? Sure, sure. But when I started putting all this stuff together, I was like, maybe something followed me from this place. So I went ahead and I got cleansed by 3 different religious people, a Catholic priest, a Baptist minister, and a shaman. And almost overnight, everything turned around. So call it coincidence, call it whatever you want, but that was a true story. It really happened to me. I went and had to have 2 surgeries on my leg, or 4 surgeries. I had the tumor removed. Turned out it had cancer in it. Had another reconstructive surgery and more tissue removed to make sure there was no spreading of this thing. And I'm still cancer-free over 2 years later, and my life is really, really good. No financial problems, no nothing. So, you could say it's coincidence, but to me, there was no coincidence in that.
Boy, that is scary. Now, James, you have a couple minutes here real quick. Go ahead and ask those couple questions you have for him.
Okay. Dave, is it true, did you buy that most haunted house in Indiana?
Yeah. Yes, I did, 3 years ago.
You did. And I got to ask, what have you experienced in that house?
Lots of things. I bought that house because I became friends with the former owner after investigating it several times. And I've captured numerous EVPs in that house. We've had numerous equipment failure, heard numerous disembodied voices in the house, and most recently recorded probably the most compelling shadow figure I've ever seen, and it was by pure happenstance. When I was up there filming for a documentary about the house, the guy that was filming it, he actually left a GoPro in the house on accident because he wanted to get different angles of me talking in the house. and he forgot about it, and we were packing our gear to leave, and he said, "Oh crap, I forgot the GoPro in there," and he just mounted it to the top of one of the doors, and he went in there and grabbed it, and we left. Well, a month later, he calls me on the phone, and you can hear the sheer fright in his voice. You know, he's all nervous. He's like, "Dude, I totally forgot about the GoPro, and I was just going through it, and I got something on here that's freaked me the hell out, and I don't know if I can ever go back in that house again." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I'm sending it to you now." So he emailed it to me, and it's one of the most craziest shadow figure captures in broad daylight that I've ever even heard of or seen. And, you know, I said, "Dude, okay, you're a movie guy, and you don't, you know, after knowing you and talking to you, you don't even believe in this stuff. What is your thoughts on this?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm telling you, man, that's the real deal." And I said, and I made him swear to me. I said, "Did you fake that in any way for any reason?" He's like, "Dude, I swear on my kids' lives, I never faked anything." So I had it looked at by several different people. They switched it into negative form and had a CG guy look at it. He said, "No, it's not manipulated at all." Now, if you go on my YouTube channel and you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see shadow figure captured. You can get a look at it. It's about a 30-second clip. And make up your own mind. I'll leave it up to you folks, but it's one of the most compelling things I've ever seen. I know it wasn't anyone on the property around the house because we were all back in the back building packing our equipment. There was only 3 of us there. We were all together during this time. And if anyone would have been walking on that side of the house for this shadow figure to occur, number one, they would have ran straight into the house. Number two, the windows are elevated about 3.5, 4 feet off the ground. And in this shadow figure in the video, you can see from head to toe. If it would have been a person creating a shadow somehow, you would have only seen it from about the knees up. So there's no way it was nothing other than paranormal in nature. So it's really compelling, really freaky stuff. Numerous investigators have been there over the years. People have been attacked, scratched, hurt there. There's numerous crazy deaths. You can read about some of the stuff in on my website about it, or you can buy my book. I wrote the first book about it. It's called Willow's Weep: The Beginning, and it has the original owner's experiences and many other investigators' experiences in there. And I plan to do 2 more books on it. The next set is a whole series. The book's a whole series about the house. The next book will be about all kinds of investigators I'm having go in there, and then we're going to compare. We're going to do some experiments. And we're going to compare notes in that book and see if we can correlate anything that's captured in the house. That's why I bought it, to have my own paranormal lab to share with the community that we can study paranormal phenomena in.
Oh, great. One other quick question. Have you ever seen a UFO or investigated a UFO or an abduction case?
Yeah, I've actually seen some. I was in the U.S. Air Force. I grew up on Air Force bases. One of my jobs was to walk around all of our aircraft with a weapon, and I pretty much know everything we have, and I've seen some stuff in the sky. If we have anything like that, we would take over the world. That kind of technology that I saw, when something's traveling as fast as I've seen, and I've seen a couple of different things in the sky I can't explain over my years. The human body could not withstand G-forces such as that thing did. And number two, we don't have any technology that I've ever heard of something moving that fast. Number one, that won't create a sonic boom, and number two, has no sound behind it. We don't have that. I mean, if we do, man, nobody could stop us if we wanted to take over the whole world, because that's some high technology stuff. And yes, I have investigated numerous UFO reports, sightings, and some abduction cases.
Wow, thank you. Now, how about the scariest place you've ever been?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, but there's many of them. And when you do this stuff, every place is different, and every place can be different each time you go. I've had some crazy experiences where I've been scratched by stuff that wasn't there. One of the craziest things, and I talk about this episode a lot, because something physically cracked my head open and put a lump on my head that wasn't there. Oh, wow. And when you realize these things have enough juice behind them to where they can punch into our reality and and physically do things to you, it's pretty unnerving. We happen to be, it's me and Weatherly, we're at Rhodes Hotel. As an old brothel ran by the Chicago mob. He was running a ghost box. I was filming him. I walked in to set down a piece of equipment, and I felt a wave of energy pass right through me, and it almost made me pass out. Like I stumbled backwards, lost my balance. I never fell down, never hit my head on anything. You know, he was right there the whole time. And we had about 15, 20 people there watching this downstairs live on a live feed we were doing. And he said, "What happened?" And I said, "I don't know, man. I just felt something like it passed right through me. It was ice cold." And he said, "You don't look good. You better sit down." So I went behind the camera and sat down and kept filming him while he was running this ghost box session. And this, whatever it was calling itself Ian, started coming across the ghost box and threatening me, saying it was going to, hurt me, you pig and all this stuff. And he said, "Well, what'd you do to David?" And it said, and I'll never forget this, it came across the box and it said, "I hit him." Ha, ha, ha. Just like that, and some evil sounding laugh behind it. And he said, "What'd you hit him with?" And it said, "A shovel." So It went on. It got more and more violent in the responses it was giving. And he decided to shut it down. And I was feeling real woozy, and I kept feeling this spiderweb sensation on my head. Like if you walk into a basement and there's cobwebs, and you feel stuff on your head and stuff, and you're wiping it off. That's what it felt like. So when he shut that down, we decided to go back downstairs, and everyone was like, "Man, that was crazy. What happened?" And I was like, I still didn't feel right. I felt dizzy, nauseous, and I sat down, and I felt that cobweb sensation on my head, and I went to wipe my head, and this was only about 5 minutes later or so. This all transpired pretty fast, 5-10 minutes. I sat down, wiped my head, and I had a big knot on the back top of my head and a cut, and I was bleeding. And I'm like, holy crap. And I wiped my hand over. I had blood on my fingers and a big old knot on my head. And if you think about it, it made perfect sense because here I am, retired law enforcement officer. I'm in a place that used to be run by the mob, the Chicago mob, and it was, prostitutes in there, and they didn't want me there. So if you think about there being possible spirit activity in a place, it all correlated to the Chicago mob and them attacking me because I was law enforcement. So it was really bizarre, really unnerving. And the very next night, we stayed in this place for a week. And the very next night, he was scratched violently down the left side of his back. And this same spirit or entity whose name was Ian, came across the box and threatened that it was going to slice him. And sure enough, he had these 3 giant slice marks or scratch marks down his back that were almost bleeding. And he became violently nauseous and was outside dry heaving and stuff after that happened. So, it was pretty an intense experience, very unnerving, and we both took care of getting cleansed and stuff after that, shortly thereafter.
That is scary. That is really scary. Now, a question. If people want to find you, do you have a website they can go to?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's Dave Spinks, ParanormalInvestigator.com, www in the front of it. It's got links to all my books and books I've contributed to. It's got all my upcoming speaking engagements and events I will be appearing at around the country. So you can check that out. If you're close by, come on by and see me at my table, get one of my books. And I'm always looking to hear people's accounts and stories. I love sharing things with folks, and it's why I do what I do. It's a passion I have, and I love doing it. It's fascinating stuff.
Now, can they Google your name on Amazon, for example? Will it come up with your books?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to look up if you just Google my name and authors on Amazon, you'll see all my books pop up. I've got several more coming out in the near future, stuff I've been sitting on for many, many years. I was encouraged to put this stuff in books because I have so many cases and so many different experiences. So, that's what I'm doing with it now. And, you can also see on my website all the different TV shows I've done. And I'm filming more currently. So, just look for me I'm on Travel Channel, History Channel, Discovery Channel. I've been on Destination America. They're not showing any more paranormal stuff. But all those channels, I've been on various TV shows and sharing some of my experiences, and you'll catch me on some investigating here and there.
Now, YouTube, what would they look for on YouTube to find?
YouTube is, I have two different channels. One's called Real Supernatural, and the other one is Society of Supernatural. And